Good afternoon, everyone. It's always very, very hard to give a talk right after lunch. But I promise I'm going to keep it entertaining. I have 147 slides in 45 minutes. So it's going to be fast, but it's going to be fun. So let me make some room. OK, so my talk is about how to design the future. So I'm actually a futurist, and I will walk you through a little bit about my path, share with you a little bit about what we do. And I wanted to share this slide with you because I wanted to kind of primed and share this idea that future is really about being proactive. It is not just theorizing. It is not just thinking about the future. It's very important that we all contribute in building better futures together. So a little bit about me. I am from Hong Kong, actually. And as my 8-year-old once told me, she said, "Mommy, you work for the future." And so from then on, I realized that, yes, I do. I work for the future. So this is me when I was, thank you. I have 2 older brothers. This is me when I was like, I don't know, 11 months old. I grew up in Macau. I was born in Hong Kong. I went to the US to study. In fact, this is a picture of me when I was at Harvard, not studying hard enough. I wanted to share this because I think one of the strengths about what I do today has a lot to do with bridging across very opposite realities. And so from the East to the West, I actually started studying biology. I wanted to be a neuroscience. And as you guys know, you guys are all Asian, and Asian family wants their kids to study to become a doctor, right? So I tried. But then I got really bad grades, so I had to pivot into architecture. And so this is another opposite that I had to bridge from kind of the rigor of the science to the conceptual of design and architecture. And all of these opposites actually helped me think harder about how can we bridge these opposites to build these futures. So I landed in Barcelona 25 years ago, and this has been my home ever since. And from then on, there was a lot of struggle. As probably a lot of you know, that when you land into a new country, you have to learn their custom, their culture. You have to basically start all over again. And that's what I did. And the way that I learn across these different cultures is to start companies. And so it was rapid fires of starting new companies. This was my first entrepreneur venture where I wanted to build a community to learn from the local. I started a FabCafe where I can bring in people and designers and creatives to 3D print while we are drinking coffees. I started a school for women on AI so that I can teach the next generation of women in tech. And then I felt that I needed more. And so in 2017, I had this amazing opportunity to study at a place called Singularity University. It's kind of funny because it's neither Singularity nor is it a university. But it was a place in California, inside actually the NASA Research AIM institution, where we brought in 90, well, they brought in 90 people from different areas and different sectors. And we were taught what's called exponential technologies to solve global challenges. And that's when I realized that, wow, technology can actually do a lot. And technology can set the pace, and technology can allow us to leverage these different abilities to solve global challenges, right? So at that time, actually, it was very specific about climate change. So coming back to Barcelona in 2017, have you guys heard of Google X? Google X, yeah. So at that time, it was called Google X, and it was very focused on what's called Moonshot Factory. So it's a subsidiary of Google, and they wanted to build this organization to tackle these very hard challenges. And I had this amazing opportunity to work in tangential with them, but with their kind of Spanish counterpart at this company called Alpha. And so there I learned everything that I needed ever to learn about how to future how to forecast, how to leverage these technologies, how to understand them, working with technologists and researchers to build these futures. So currently, I am also doing my doctoral degree on algorithmic futuring because life is not hard enough. I need to make it harder for me. So I'm working on my PhD. I should be finished in November, and I would love to share with you some of the the conclusions of my research later. So I'm going to jump now and shift a little bit the rhythm and share with you kind of some of the basis of how do we actually future, right? So futuring is not a single discipline. It's actually, from the business and strategy side to incorporating the scientific and research side. And also, we have to kind of also bridge it into the imagination realm. And so this is more about the speculative design piece. And each one of these have their own roles and have their own importance. So as we are working with companies, as we're working with different organizations, every single company we have ever worked with talk about growth. But they talk about growth in short term. They either create new products or they either grow into new markets. And so a lot of times when we work with companies, we challenge them and ask them to think further. And the way we push them further is to think about what's called the next and beyond horizon. And there, we don't talk about products and we don't talk about markets. What we talk about are risks and opportunities. Yeah? And so this kind of perspective of how can we tackle risk and opportunities are ingrained in our methodology, which I will share with you later. This is my favorite framework. It's called the PACE layers. And it came from Stuart Brand's book, The Clock of the Long Now, back written in 2019. And I use this as a way to understand that the pace of change is actually very different according to different layers that you're on. So let me explain a little further. So on the bottom, you have nature. Nature is slow because evolution is slow, right? So as you move on top of this layer, culture, religion, tradition, these things are slow. Governance, laws, also slow. And then these are beginning to be your faster layer, the companies, the news, what is fashionable. These are your fast layers. The way I use this framework is that your fast layers are the layers that learn, are the layers that are experimental, are the layers that are agile. They're your innovation layers. And as those experimental things get, tested, they get filtered into your slower layer. And your slower layers are your learning layers. They are the ones with resources, they're the ones with power, and they're the ones that have stability and control. So together, with all of these layers, what it creates, and I'm sure Miho will talk more about it later, is your resiliency in our world, right? I talk about this often because our current world actually have all of these layers very much disrupted, right? We have climate change changing much faster than we have ever expected. We have laws and governance that are becoming every day more and more obsolete. We have technologies and companies that are growing in speed that we have never seen before. So we are sensing that our society and our world very much are being disrupted right now because these layers are not being synchronized. Here's another framework that we use often. It's called the four horizon. So the way we apply this is that, coming from the imagination layer, we ask ourselves, okay, what ideas can we come up with, right? Once we have an idea, then we started asking ourselves the question, is it actually doable? Can we do it in a lab, right? So that's a scientific question. So we go into research, we try to understand if it is feasible. And once we have addressed that, then we can say, well, great, but can you actually do it at scale? Just because you can do it in a lab doesn't mean that you can do it at scale. And that's an engineering question. So here we ask ourselves, are there patents to show us that there's evidence that there is a transfer from academia into the industry? Then the last question we ask is, well, is there a business case Just because you can do it in a lab, just because you can grow it at scale, doesn't mean that there's usage at all. So here we look at indications in startup data, we look at funding, we even look at Forbes to tell us if there is any interest in the business domain. And together, this gives us a maturity level of any technologies and understanding where they are, how they are applicable to us. Yeah? So this is an example of a mapping that we have done for smart city in different categories. And this is how we apply when we work with companies, when we work with government organizations to understand the pace of change. Yeah? OK, so this is the fun part. This is kind of the show and tell part of what we actually do. So in our company, we do 4 things. We do research. Once we have done the research, we put it into kind of our ideation engine and come up with what is possible in the future. And from there, we prototype a lot of things. And then finally, we do what's called backcasting to strategize what is possible and how can we make those things happen. So I'm going to share with a couple of projects that we have done. I think it's always fun to do a little show and tell. I do have to tell you a little bit the fact that we can't share projects that we have done with our clients. So the projects that I'm showing you, except for one, are fun projects that we have done internally for ourselves. So this is called the electronic edible. So I'm just curious, I can't really see. How many of you guys have licked a battery? Oh, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, a few. OK, so if you don't know, if you pass electricity on your tongue, you can actually induce taste. Yeah? So now I'm going to encourage you, when you get home, you can just lick a, no? Dr. Ben said, no, you should go and lick a battery. Not a high voltage, and definitely don't stick your tongue in the outlet. But take a low voltage battery and pass it on your tongue. We learned that you can actually induce taste. In fact, you can induce taste, sweetness in the tip, salty in the back. Depending on your sensibility, you have different tastes and different reactions. And we thought, oh, that's super cool. What can we do with this? I have my whole entire team electrocuting their tongues and testing, how can we induce more taste and what kind of taste we can induce. But we didn't stop there. We said, well, this is just electricity, right? What if we pair that with an amplifier and connect the amplifier with music? And maybe we can taste music. And we push it even further and said, well, what if we can, connect this music thing, and then we can jive with the music, and I can, in the future, instead of sending you a playlist, I can send you a taste list, and we can be bought by Spotify, and I will be wealthy and super happy. No, I'm kidding. But that was the idea, right? So you're going to ask me, why in the world do we want to do this? Why do you want to taste digitally? Ask me. Why? Why? Yes, thank you. Why do we want to do this? So this project actually came from the premise that can we actually separate the eating for sustenance versus eating for pleasure? And if we can separate eating for pleasure, can we replace our eating with pleasure with digital means so that we're not wasting natural resources, we're not getting fat, we're not becoming unhealthy just because we're eating for pleasure? So that was the premise of the project. So some of you might actually recognize this as Hiroshi Ishii, and he was being electrocuted by us at MIT Media Lab. So that's this project. And now we also extrapolate and think about how we can, how we can further this project, iterate it. And of course, in the age of AI, what if you can prompt the taste that you want in the future whenever you want? Yeah. This is another project we did for the Spanish government, actually, the Secretary of State. We were asked to look at the aging population. And so this was 2 years ago. We kind of came up with this idea of how can we augment the ability of these elders in 4 realms, right? In health, in their skills, and two-way skills. And so, them teaching the young and also them learning themselves. Oops. Over here is their own autonomy, And on top is the security, because the elders are the most vulnerable in terms of demographics. And so in this process of making, we realized that we can actually, so this is a demo of how we can capture, via just a regular camera, the vital signs of the elders. Oops, there's a lot of flickering here. Everything okay? Yeah, good, I continued. But I specifically want to share this story with Gloria. So in our making of this project, unfortunately, Gloria got a stroke. And because of the stroke, she lost her voice. She couldn't speak. We were very saddened by it. She was kind of a participant in the project, and we said, how can we help her? And so what we did was we scanned her face. We created a 3D version of Gloria. We took her WhatsApp messages that are in audio, and we trained her voice. And we put her into the mirror so that she can see herself and she can converse with herself. And so the AI avatar version of Gloria could actually talk and answer herself. And so this project kind of evolved into where we think about how the elders could use the mirror for asynchronous health. We also thought about how Gloria can actually, or me, how many of you guys talk to yourself in the morning or anytime? No one? Just me? Okay. I talk to myself all the time. So this project evolved to a place where we thought about like, okay, well, I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to see myself, the AI version of myself. And then I'm going to say things like, oh my God, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, you know, the normal things that I say. The mirror then sends information to my therapist. My therapist will then course correct my mental state and will send the conversation back into the mirror so that the next day when I have a conversation with myself that have the prescribed conversation, I will then be course corrected in my mental state. So that's a little bit this project. I love to eat. There's a lot of examples about eating. This is called the polygenomic tomatoes. This is a project that we did when we were actually at Alpha, the company that I was telling you about. So all of you have heard of cultured meat. So taking meat from an animal and then growing them in the bioreactor. So this is it. But we were asking ourselves the question: well, if you can grow. So one of the issues about growing meat in a bioreactor is that meat is not flat, right? Meat has muscles, it has tendons, it grows from an animal, it's volumetric. So we ask ourselves, can we actually grow meat inside a tomato? So we did the research and we realized that, yes, you can actually use a tomato to grow meat. And we imagined that what if you're not just growing only meat? What if you can grow the entire meal? Your tomato, your onions, your garlic, your meat, your olive oil, all inside, and we call this a plantable meal. So the entire meal being grown in a plant. So we did a little bit of speculative design. We tried to understand how that could be done. I brought some friends over. We don't have the ability to grow a tomato right now, but what we did was I surgically and faked some meat inside a tomato and served it to some of my friends, and some of them just didn't want to eat it. They thought it was an abomination. So I wanted to see how people would react with this thought of having a tomato. So here's scientists. This is actually really old. This is 2019. Scientists are already being able to grow meat inside grass blades. In fact, Korean scientists have been able to grow meat inside rice. So next time when you eat beef fried rice, it's going to be a very different kind of beef fried rice. Yeah? So in the same vein, we thought about, if you can grow meat inside a tomato, can we grow our own organs? And this, is even further in terms of the future that is possible. So we said, we just need to match the typography of the organs into the actual fruit or vegetables that we wanted to use. So here is an example of a artichoke. You get it, artichoke? Yes, artichoke. And what if you can, match the aloe vera with your limbs? And in the future, could we actually grow these organs in our backyard? So researchers are already able to turn a spinach leaf into a human heart. And this project is pretty spectacular in the sense that once they used the spinach leaf and with human heart cells, the spinach leaf continued to beat as if it was a human heart cells. So this was where this project came from. And this is a little fun project that I wanted to share, so this is Mark. This is my CTO/husband. And I'm sure maybe some of you have seen this device that you can connect and capture his muscle signals and then play it back into this poor woman. So when he moves his arm, he's actually controlling her arm. I don't have a video of this, but we did the same, but with a plant. So when a plant moves, like what is that plant called? The ones that eat flies? Thank you. Yes. So you can actually connect to a plant, and when the plant moves, the plant can control your movement, right? So we started playing with this idea, and how can we apply this into the future space? So we imagine that in the future, if this is all just recording your muscle movement, maybe we can record the movement of a pianist playing the piano, and we can play back how the pianists play the piano, right? And if you add AI to this, then in the future, we can imagine we can basically play anything that we want to play as soon as we can prompt it. So I wanted to share a little bit of the architectural example. This project is called the transaction membrane, the metabolic house. In fact, in the competitions that we saw today, some of them talked about, how can we understand architecture more as an organism. So we reimagined in this new kitchen space in the future how that particular membrane could be transactional, meaning that what if we can have our Amazon delivery coming through this membrane, and that also the things that are outgoing could go through this particular part of our house, right? So we imagine not only the things that are coming in, so your groceries, your delivery, your clean laundry, and the things that are also going out, your recycling materials, your trash, your dirty laundry, all of that will be optimized. So the next time you need to transact, you have this intelligent layer that can do all of that transactions for you to optimize your household metabolic needs. We imagined adapting the tunnels from underground to be able to do these deliveries. We imagine a new way for your kitchen modules to be intelligent. We imagine that they're customizable for each person in their household. And this is kind of the world that we imagined in the future, how we can adapt to autonomous vehicles to help us do all of these deliveries for us. OK, so I want you to meet Herbie. How many of you guys got to meet Herbie yesterday? 1, 2, a few of you. OK, so this is Herbie. I'm gonna share a little bit of the story of Herbie. So we started this project 4 years ago. And Herbie is an autonomous plant. I don't have it autonomously because I can't talk at the same time while he's roaming around the stage. So he's currently parked here. So what exactly is an autonomous plant, right? So for us, we started to define what it means to have autonomy. So to have autonomy for us is to have the ability to make decisions on its own. So what kind of decisions can Herbie have, right? So wait, let me go back. So Herbie has all sorts of sensors. Later on, you can come up and you can take a look afterwards. Herbie has all sorts of sensors. It has light sensors. It has a water sensor, humidity sensor. And when Herbie needs light, Herbie will go and, for a place where there's light. When Herbie needs water, Herbie will ask for water. Herbie can talk. Maybe we can test that later. So as you can see, Herbie roams around autonomously. But we didn't stop there. We said, well, let's say Herbie is a tomato plant. And Herbie comes to you, Miho, and said, Miho, would you like to buy my tomatoes? In which you would say, absolutely. So now Miho gave Herbie some money. And now Herbie, of course, with money, needs a wallet. and now Herbie needs a bank account. And Herbie might decide to save up all of their money, and maybe Herbie one day could be an investor, or could be the world's first plantpreneur. And now you're going to ask me, why in the world do we want to give plant money? Why do we want to give plant money? So the idea behind this is that our economy is very much prioritizing whom? Humans, us. So the idea behind this project is that if we can give beyond humans, so plants here, economic rights, can they then prioritize themselves? So this is a little bit the premise of the project. The way we go about doing this is that we build a whole entire army of autonomous plants. We turn all of this information, so all the sensor reading, into a digital twin version. As you can see here, the color light sensor dictates the color of the leaves, density, moisture sensor, et cetera, et cetera. Then what we did was we turned this image, this digital twin, into NF trees. And then we sold these NF trees. So this was at the height of the metaverse. We sold a couple of these NF trees. I think, I don't know, I can't prove this, but I think Herbie is one of the wealthiest plants in the world. But we sold about 2,000, 3,000. We created a wallet for Herbie. We sold them through a carbon neutral platform. We're now thinking about, can we actually create a DAO, which is a distributed autonomous organization? So basically think about a company that is being directed, instead of humans, algorithms. And in this case, the algorithm is Herbie. And so that's kind of, we're thinking about whether or not we can build a plant-based company, like a truly plant-based company, and that if we can invest, if Herbie can actually invest into, say, for example, if Herbie water sensor is continuously low, can Herbie decide to invest in a startup that focuses on water, right? So that's a little bit the mechanics. So we push it a little further. We created AR versions of these trees. We created an app, of course, so people can experience and understand a little bit kind of the levels of water and sensors. Oops. OK, so we also extended and think about the other ecosystems, whether we can adapt this for the water, for NFCs, for the bee economy, and the beehives, and we call them NFCs and NFBs. So that's a little bit of the project. I'm very proud of Herbie. Herbie traveled around the world. We went to give a TED Talk together. Herbie has been a speaker on his own, continued to make money. We met Spot, the Boston dynamic dogs. You guys have seen Spot, right, around? They fell in love. So this is Herbie 2.0. We're going to have a Herbie baby. We're actively working on this, giving legs to Herbie. We're also working on a version of, Herbie GPT. And I mean, it sounds silly, right? But one of the things that we want to do is to learn more about Herbie. And so we're trying to understand all of the biochemical signals of Herbie and turn it into a GPT so that we can have a conversation with Herbie that is not driven by human language. Yeah? And so there are other companies already working on this, including those that are working with animals. This is also the reason why I am in Thailand, because we're working with a company here that wants to develop this further. So we call this project an interspecies economy. If I have time towards the end of this, we can see if Herbie wants to have a conversation and say hi for a little bit. I'm going to go through the rest and then see if we have time. So I'm going to share this last project with you. This is our latest one that we just finished. This project, we did it with the EU Commission, and it's called Coming of Age. And so this project, we have been asked from the Policy Lab in the EU Commission to look at youth in the future, specifically at how youth will be transitioning into adulthood in the future, in 2040. So for many of us, I can't really see the demographics here, but I'm old. And adulthood, for my age, means that you're very, very clear. You buy a house, you get married, you have a child, check, 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 and then now you are an adult. Super easy, super clear, the landmarks are there. That is changing, as you can see. Kids are having a hard time buying a house. They are having, they might decide not to get married. All of those landmarks, as we know it, is changing, right? So we did a whole bunch of research, which I'm happy to share with you if you're interested in this project. I can share this with you. And one of the things that we have learned is that it takes 18 years to become an adult on paper. And in a lot of societies, it will take actually another 18 years to be an adult on practice. And all of this will have impact in how we perform as young adults in our society. So what we did was we built a whole bunch of products from the future. So these are items that will exist in 2040. We created for young people that are 20 years old in the year of 2040. So today they will be 5, 6 years old, more or less. And we also built a device where these young people live. And so the way you interact with this is that the policymakers, so this was made with policymakers in mind, is that policymakers can dial in, they can call these young people from the future and have a conversation with what is important and what matters for them. So imagine an ethnographic research with people that yet to exist. That's the project called Coming of Age. In the same extent, we did another persona that will teach other people how to speak in inclusive languages. So I just wanted to share this really quickly. The project was, I'm very proud because it got picked up by Fast Company, and this persona that teach other people to speak in inclusive languages, got picked up by Fast Company to be the first synthetic columnist to write about this topic in Brazil. So for the last part of this, for my talk, I wanted to share with you, I wanted to leave something a little bit more practical. I wanted to share with you how can you tackle and how can you design the future. So I'm going to share this methodology with you. I'm really proud we just finished this book. If you guys are interested in getting a copy, I have a few here to share with you. So think about this as like design thinking, but future-driven, and it's called synthesizing the future. And it's a 4 steps, 16 mini steps to get us one by one to how can we, understand the future a little bit better and design this future for all. So I'm going to go back here. There are 4 steps to this. First, we map out about the future. Then we go into the perspective and write the stories from that perspective. Then we create the object and prototype it. And finally, to create the plan on how do we get there. So it's simple, right? 4 steps. I'm going to go through step 1 with you today and how we start the thinking about this. And the very first thing that we do is gather all of our ingredients. And we call them starting points. And these ingredients could be what technology that is interesting to you, what problems that you're working with, what businesses or opportunities that you wanted to tackle, and finally, what futures are you looking at, right? So this one is the futures is a little bit more aspirational. It could be things like you want to look at space travel, or you want it to kind of understand a little bit more about longevity, right? And so once you have gathered all of these material, we do this exercise called Futurescape. And so the way you do this is you combine the starting points that I was sharing with you earlier. You create a seed or an idea, and then from there, you think about potential consequences that come out of this. Yeah? So let me give you a really concrete example. Let's say that I already told you that I like to eat a lot. So let's imagine that you're working with cultured meat, cellular gastronomy. You know that I have been taking omega-3 as a vitamin, but you can also get it from fish. So what if we combine this with the idea of a cellular gastronomy, and you want to have your protein, and in the future, we have something called a designer meat, where you're combining culture beef and culture fish, and you have a beef-fish, combo. Sounds disgusting, right? No, I'm kidding. Could be great. I don't know. But what if in the future we have cellular gastronomy as a profession, as an occupation? All right, I'm going to give you another example. There is a company actually producing this machine called air protein. Air protein basically is you're taking molecules from the air and you reconstitute them in a way that they can output protein. And what if you can add, I'm from Spain, so and I love my jamon. So what if you can add this jamon flavor, and in the future you have a machine that can do air jamon, right? So that's kind of a dream that I have, to be able to do this air jamon. I'm going to give you an example that is more local. Let's say that we use exoskeleton and we match with the Muay Thai here, the culture of Muay Thai with electronic tattoos. And in the future, we can create a more augmented version of Muay Thai that is catered to our ability to grow our fighting skills. Yeah. So this is how we approach this methodology. So as a futurist, one of the things that we tackled a lot is this world of the unknown unknown. How many of you guys have heard of the unknown unknown? Okay, so a few. So what is the unknown unknown? Over here is so on this axis is your knowledge axis. So, and on this axis is your awareness axis. So, oops, sorry. So here, this is me. You see, this is me. This is me unhappy because I'm not aware of something and I don't understand something. This is a place that I don't like to be, right? I need to get over here. And how do I get over here? Well, the way to get over here is that I need to do my research. I need to learn. I need to educate myself. So this is your analysis axis. This is your learning axis. So you will go from things that I don't understand to something that I understand, but still might not be aware. How can we get more awareness? So to gain more awareness, what we do is we synthesize, we imagine, we create possibilities. Yeah. So from here to here, you synthesize in order to arrive to awareness, and then you toggle between the two, and then you're like, yay! I'm happy now, because now you understand, and now you're aware. So let me give you a really concrete example, because this could be very abstract. So let's say, have you guys heard of quantum? Yes. All of you had heard of quantum. So you are aware of quantum. How many of you truly, fully understand quantum? Very few, right? So this is an example of something that we are aware of, but we don't understand. Over here is that we're all aware of racism, but do we know that maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we have all sorts of Herbies running around, and we might have what I'm calling planticism. The same way we have racism, we might have planticism in the future, where we're mean to Herbie, or roboticism, we're mean to robots, right? Are we aware of that? We understand perfectly what racism is. We might not be aware of the possibility of planticism in the future. So this is a way for us to be more aware and to understand what is possible in the future. And this is how we kind of toggle between the two. And in the age of AI, and particularly for my PhD, this is what I'm looking at. How can we apply analysis and synthesis and AI for us to be able to do our work at scale with more accuracy and more reliability? Okay, which brought me to this tool. So if any of you are interested in this tool, I'm happy to share more with you. But the idea is that how can we take on the data, on the evidence between scientific articles and patents to give us more understanding of what might happen into the future space. So over the past 3 years, we've been gathering a lot of data in innovation workflows and pipelines, and we create these charts in over 7,000 different domain space to help us see this future and give us more awareness of what is happening, from generative AI to algae cultivation. And then we do the exercise that I was showing you earlier, the Futurescape, where we look at consequences of negative and positive in a more scalable means using AI. So this is the Futurescaper tool that we use. I'm going to end this talk with something that I have been working on called Digital Souls, which is really relevant to kind of the event on this multi-intelligence, hybridized intelligence. I'm going to walk you through. So I want you guys to imagine with me. So there's the physical CC right here. Imagine that there's another copy, a digital twin version, that is a professor. And this professor, CC, knows about the students, knows about the curriculum, knows about the tone, knows about the assignment. Yeah? I have another one that is the CEO, CC, that knows about the clients, my work, also my tone, et cetera, et cetera. So each one of these are a digital version of me. Yeah? And I want you to imagine that maybe on the next, in the next event, that instead of me coming, I can send my CEO twin, and that on stage will be a holographic version of me giving a talk and making money, while my real CC, me, will be on Pattaya Beach drinking piña colada, right? I can have my professor CC teaching a class while I drink more. I don't have a drinking problem, I promise, but but you can imagine that all of these extension digital souls can go out there and work for me, make money for me, transact for me, and negotiate for me. And why do we call them digital souls? I want you to also imagine that, here's another example of a culinary twin where it remembers all the recipe, it can cook for me. We call them digital souls because I want you to imagine, what if one day the physical self, my physical self, dies? And I have 2 girls. What do I do with all of these digital twins, digital souls? Do they get inherited by my girls? Do I give it to them? Do I make copies? Each one get a copy. Do I kill them off and have a digital funeral, right? And so these questions we have to practice now. We have to kind of imagine how they will play out, the consequences of these things, so that we can deal with them today, not when it is happening into the future. So we also produce magazines, by the way, and in that magazine I explore a little bit about what that future looks like. And so I'm showing it here. I am building my own digital soul. So if you go to my own website, and if you miss me, you can talk more with me. And the idea is that in the next stage, if I start charging, let's say, 5 cents per minute, will people actually be paying to talk to a digital version of me? And one day, can I actually start transactioning the digital twin version of me, transactioning beyond my physical self? And can I one day be sipping my piña colada in the Pattaya Beach and not have to work anymore? So these are some of the things that I am testing. And so I just wanted to kind of illustrate that this idea of the digital soul is that they can start manifesting into the physical aspect of our world, where what if one of my, let's say the health digital twin can, possess, quote unquote, a car, the autonomous car of the future, and another one can possess the refrigerator, and then they can act on my behalf by buying things or taking me to places or transactioning for me. Yeah. And so very quickly, this is the kind of the futurescape mapper to understand some of the consequences of what happens when we have this particular idea of the digital souls, how they might manifest, what type of consequences are we going to be dealing with. And so to end this, we do a lot of rehearsal through writing these magazines and understanding how they can manifest in this future. So this magazine called Intense is set in the year of 2040. But we write about them as if it is today. And so we started to explore the very first one about food, where we looked into designer meat and what it means to have designer meat into our society. We also look at mycelium fashion. We look at microbiome as a makeup ingredient. The second one is about space. and what it means to live in space or travel to space, where we can use air protein as a machinery to produce food in the future, and that perhaps we need to have anti-radiation makeup when we go visit space. And we also looked at exoskeleton as a way for us to work out our muscles for dealing with muscle degeneration when we're in space. The third one is about longevity, which I've already talked about. And the fourth one is on interspecies society, where we deal with our cohabitation with beyond humans. So I'm going to end this with this quote that by Albert Einstein, is that imagination is actually more important than knowledge, because our knowledge is limited, but our imagination is everywhere in the world. So with that, I thank you for listening to me. We don't have time to talk to Herbie, but after this, I'll be happy to turn it on and have Herbie say hi to everyone. So thank you so much, and Kap Kun Ka.